Hi,
Hello.
how you doing?
I'm well. How you doing, Greg?
I am just fabulous, and unfortunately, we have plans that have changed today. How you doing?
Yeah, just minor changes. So our guest this week had some. I have a comment that says echo, but I think it'll be better now. Our guest this week, Dr. Baines, can't make it. He had emergencies in the form of
Yes,
water.
it's unfortunate, but those things happen. So, but we still are prepared, and we still have stuff to talk about. For sure.
Yeah. So thank you all for coming. You know who we are. I'm David, and that's Greg. Somewhere that way, no, that way. Um, and welcome. So before we get rolling, we just want to pop up uh, our very special thank you to our patrons. So thank you.
Thanks,
Huge
Hild.
thanks to Hells Johnson at Tree Support, and thank you everybody who's a Patreon. We sure appreciate you joining, and it helps us do what we do and get good content out for you. So thank you. And there, no more Patreon screen. Still echo. Still echo.
Well, I asked if it's good now, so
Okay.
hopefully it is.
Yeah. We don't need an echo.
No,
Just
but I think we're good because I don't know what else would be feeding back, causing echo. So
hey, good morning, all. So everybody in chat, thanks for showing up. We got Gary, Pierre, Victor, let's see, Stig, and Helch. The gang's here. So
and they're saying it's all good now. So
yay. So we did have, and we do have a lot of quite a few questions actually, and some of this to go over with Dr. Baines, and some of the stuff is what we have been discussing previously. But
yep.
if you guys do have any more, we have rescheduled for next week, hopefully, with him. So it'll give us a little more time actually to get a few more questions in there. So that's good. Oh, Dominic is here too. Good morning
Yep.
and welcome.
And Victor's here, and Stig, and yeah, we've got and Greg, and there's a whole swack load.
Everybody. So if you guys don't know, I'm just going to mention a few things here. We're starting a 3D Make It podcast, and
Yay!
this might be the first podcast. So
Yeah,
we'll have
so we're trying new stuff. We're gonna have a little bit of structure trying to. So to start off with, being that said, the structure starts with news.
yeah.
So Prusa Alpha 2.4 is out, but you have to compile it yourself.
Yeah. Good luck. I did I did 2.3, and it took me a little bit because when the first alpha released that, it was pretty raw. Um, Eventually we got it though. But yeah, it was 11 days ago, Prusa version alpha 4 or 2.4, 11 days
Yeah,
ago. So
yeah. So
that
so
is a
they're
thing.
they're they're still in early developments, obviously, and so looking forward to see. They keep hitting it out of the park, so we'll see what new features get added, and we'll keep you posted on any changes, alpha releases, and then once Alpha 2 comes out, we might have an idea of kind of the features that are kind of they're working on. So we'll
Yeah,
give
for
you
sure.
from
And
there.
I like Stig's comment there. I already use the live streams as a podcast. I just listen to it while I'm working, and that's totally the spirit of the live stream. So, yeah, it's working. It's doing its thing. The next bit of news, I guess you could call it news, is good morning, Ray. Bruce or Kira. We talk about Bruce, so let's talk about Kira. I They don't have a new beta out for Kira 4.8, but they do have the Arcane Engine beta out. Now, this is not new news, and it was last updated March 12th. So again,
That's
around
good.
the same,
That's fairly new.
it's newish. So um, if you like Akira, there is something to scroll on over to, and their beta for the Arcane Engine is a compiled version of Akira, so you can download it, run it, install it, and it will work for you. The alpha of Prusa, however, has two folders, and they both say source code. So if you guys don't know how to use Visual Studio, probably stay away from it for now. Oh, and
Yeah,
then
and then so another thing in the news was Big Tree Tech officially is shipping their Big Tree Tech IDEX RepRap boards. So mine is officially in the mail. I will be getting it soon, so I'm looking forward to that. So and that's been a trend lately between Fly and Big Tree Tech, and I'm not sure who else, but there's well, it's Fly/Mellow now, but there's a number of companies coming out with much more affordable dual boards. So when I say dual boards, I mean they run RepRap firmware, include Wi-Fi built on, and they run Marlin. So the nice thing is, if you're not comfortable with one or the other, you can flip flop. So yeah, flip flop, I should say.
I
Yeah.
mean, flip flap is probably the same thing.
I
Close
meant
enough, right? And I guess the last thing that's news, but not news, if you look at the Marlin firmware homepage, you will notice that we're still on 2.0.7.2. But the
yeah.
nightly build is at 2.0.8. So if
So
you feel
still no official release. I keep checking daily because I want to get all these boards updated. So because I don't want to do all the work and get all the features that I haven't turned on, and then have to update them again. So, but yeah, that's where we
yeah,
are.
and just so you guys know too, and we're going to talk about it a bit later, but I will allude to it now. We're going to be talking IDEX in like 4 talking points, and if you don't know, we actually do have talking points for the live streams. we have
Yeah,
we plan,
we're not completely unprepared.
right? Usually we're okay. So Greg, you, my friend, did a thing
Yep,
this week.
I did do a thing this week. So officially, I have ordered the Voron Zero kit. So it is in the mail. It will be coming soon. So I will be doing a series on my experience building it. I'll probably do a few live build sessions or something while I'm doing it and chat with you guys. But yeah, so it is coming. I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, it's on its way.
It's coming now. The Voron specifically has like that. It's not a huge build play, right? The Zero, but man,
Yeah.
that's
And there's a number of Vorons, right? That we've got. There's so many, and they're all slightly different depending on your use case. But I personally, I chose the Zero because I wanted a Core XY, and I wanted it fast for prototyping, and then I'm going to use the Zero because I've got all the extrusion, everything to build a 2.4, a V2.4. So I'm going to use the Zero because it's all enclosed and heated and everything, and I'll have to vent it to print ABS and print a 2.4 because I need you got so it's the true spirit of RepRap. it's going to build a bigger brother.
I love it, and yeah, I mean that is the if you define rep wrap, that's it right there. Build your
Well,
own. Build.
and so I'm going to bring you guys along on the journey, because not only are we learning about um, you know, building a Voron and whatnot. Vorons use are the primary use of Vorons that they encourage to keep the cost down and whatnot is Clipper.
Um,
So we
yeah,
are going to, both David and I are going to start learning and understanding Clipper, because I think David has had a little more experience with early versions of Clipper.
true.
I have had no experience with Clipper at all. So, yeah, I don't know if you want to kind of talk about that too.
Yeah, I mean Clipper. There's a few things about it, but Helljas is the Voron only in a kit form, and yes, kind of.
Correct.
It's actually not
So,
even in form. You have to go out and find the parts unless you buy the form bought
unless,
pre-built kit.
yeah, so you got to be careful, because there's a number of places that are throwing the build materials list together, but they're not putting necessarily high quality parts. So, um, make sure that you, if you're on AliExpress and you're looking at buying a kit, sort by sold, because
Right.
you don't want to buy from someone who's sold 0, and you don't want to buy from someone who's sold 2.
Oh,
So I bought from FormBot, and they have sold over 300 of these kits. So and they have, if you read through the actual reviews of people who've bought the kits, they're people are pretty happy with the parts, and they come with LDO motors, and they come with decent quality parts. So yeah, so just be careful when you're ordering, and that's a little tip. AliExpress tip is don't buy from 0, buy from people that have actually shipped product before.
yeah, and if you guys don't know, Voron is not again. It's not like an end printer. It is
Yeah,
more of a
it,
concept by engineers. And here's the website.
yeah,
Voron Design. It's a complete build your own, so you can pick which one you want, and then you can get the build of materials
yeah.
from the
So now
website.
go over printers for a sec. So
Printers.
so the Voron Zero is their smallest one. The Voron One series, that I was watching a nice. They were kind of summarizing it. So the newest one is actually the Legacy, but it's not the best of the Voron. Switchwire is a bed flinger. So if you are interested in converting something like an Ender or something, you could potentially do that to a Switchwire. And the Switchwire is a Core XZ. So it moves a little differently than so it can actually move quicker and whatnot. So it's a little bit different, but it has a movable bed. But pretty much all of the other Vorons are Core XY. So just keep that in mind. So if you're looking at a Core XY, and I chose the 0 to start with because I'm cheap, but I wanted to experience a Core XY, and they're all a lot of the new ones are linear rail based, so they're quite they got a quite popular series, and they have a really good Discord for support. So
Yeah. So moral of the story is it's not for the faint of heart to build a
no,
Voron, but
it should not be your first printer, but it could be your second or third.
yeah, that's just like the title of my SF4 build. To you have to be a printer whisperer sometimes with Core XY,
Yeah,
but sometimes though, I mean,
absolutely.
it if you get a good solid one, you have to printer whisper once, and then it works for you. I just want to show this Clipper benchmark off just so that we I can kind of clear up a question too. The Clipper can run on basically any board, but here's just a
Yep.
benchmark of what they've tested for it. So you can see here that the Big Tree Tech SKR Pro board, and this has the big boy processor. This one has the STM 32F407 in it, and it actually obviously can step the fastest because the processors can talk faster to each other. But
Yep.
with Clipper, I think it's important to know that the processing power of your Raspberry Pi, especially your Raspberry Pi 4, is bigger than even the 32-bit boards. However,
Absolutely.
there is a bit of diminishing returns when it comes to some functionality in Clipper, but not all functionality. So that's what we're going to explore. So
Yeah.
that
So
is
what's the primary reason that they went to Clipper was cost. As they still support, you can still build the Voron with whatever board you want, and you can run Marlin, and they support Marlin, and that's fine. But one of the reasons that in the interview that I was watching was you can put three different boards. So if you had a Melzi board or old Melzi boards around or whatever, to get enough steppers to drive the belted Core XY that they build, you need 7-8 steppers or IDEX or whatever. You need more steppers. So what they do is, as long as you have enough USB ports on your Pi, you can put 3 or 4 8-bit boards, 32-bit boards, whatever, mix them, match them, and you can now drive a very complex system at a very quick rate because all the heavy lifting is moved onto the Pi. So it makes it almost quite scalable
yeah,
for a complex system. So if you had four Z steppers and Core XY and 3 hot ends and whatever, you could do something that complex with more inexpensive equipment. You don't need to buy a $400 board now to do this.
no.
So that's kind of neat.
Stig asks, could Clipper be used on the Big Tree Tech E3 Mini 1.2?
Yes,
And the answer is yes.
yes,
It can be used on
yes.
any board.
Any
Yeah.
board.
There's Clipper offers a bunch of tutorial stuff, but we are going to do a tutorial 3D Make It style on Clipper. So that
Yeah.
is something that's coming out for Clipper. I'm just deciding on which printer I'm going to convert to Clipper because I would like to do it at the same time Greg is setting up the Voron.
Yeah.
And then we can have the two working side by side. So
yeah, and so the other thing I'm going to do is, because the boards that we've ordered both do Marlin and they do RepRap firmware, and you can do Clipper. We can do a 3-way shootout with the same hardware and have a look and see if there's any, will the average hobbyist see a benefit to Clipper versus RepRap versus Marlin. So I think that'll be it'll be nerdy, but I think it'll be a good way of looking at it. So
yeah, and I mean Clipper also requires an interface. Like this is where it gets similar to RepRap firmware. RepRap firmware has that the web page you can get to, right? So you can go there and control it. Where Clipper, obviously, since it's on a Raspberry Pi, the control interface can be Octoprint. There's a plugin for Octoprint for Clipper. It can also be Fluid, and there's one more I can't remember right now, but there are a few different choices out there for the control interface. So I think RepRap firmware and Clipper can feel the same once you get them going, just because of the web interface. Where Marlin, was it last year, Greg? I want to say it was last year. There was rumblings of like a Marlin built-in web server.
that they had a real-time OS version that was in the build stream, but then kind of went away. So if you look at the GitHub, you will not see it as a valid thing anymore. It's like basically, I don't know if it's being developed behind closed doors or if it's just on the shelf.
And thank you to Dave Wilson in chat. He reminded me it is mainsail. That's the other control
Thank you,
interface.
Dave.
There's one more too. There's one more. So pop quiz. If anybody can remember the last one I'm thinking of, because I know you guys all think what I'm thinking of. Clipper has to be on a Raspberry Pi. It's designed to be flashed onto that Raspberry Pi. Just stick
Yeah,
ass.
and you can have an Octoprint Raspberry Pi all set up, and then you can add Clipper to it. So you don't have to have them separate. So if you've already got a Pi and Octoprint, you can now incorporate Clipper into that Pi. So yeah,
Yeah, you know it's a
and
Raspberry. Yeah.
does it have to be a Pi?
Mhm.
That's a great question. I can't answer that yet, but I
Well,
see David nodding.
it has to be a Pi. The pinout of a Pi is specifically geared towards it. It might work on as long as the pin IO is the same. And I'd have to check. It could work on like the Orange Pi and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, if you're
the second, does it have to be a Pi? Was a follow up? Can I run it on a laptop?
Yeah, I don't think you
No.
can because we don't have an IO breakout. Well, I guess technically you could probably build an IO breakout, but it'll be a little more complex to do that. So it's designed specifically for a Pi in mind.
Yep. And I mean, keep in mind, guys, and this is coming from, I don't know, 17, 18 years in the industry of computer science and network administration and all that stuff. The answer is always yes, you can do it if you want. You just have to have the skill set to back that statement up. Right.
That's true.
If you want to run it on a laptop, sure, but you'll probably have to reprogram it all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you found an old enough computer with a parallel port and you broke out all the pins on your parallel port, you might be able to get something going.
Probably. I'm not
Yeah.
sure I want to swap it out for a Pi. And you know what though? If you're running a 32-bit board already, like the Big Tree Tech ones, the advantage to Clipper is there still is a slight advantage, but I would not run out and switch it just for the sake of switching it.
Yeah.
Right? Like if it's not broken, don't fix it.
And I totally understand if your setup is working now, why change it? And we're not recommending changing it. We are doing the lab testing and nerdiness for you, and then we can kind of guide you if you decide you want to go there. But we're not recommending that everyone go out and blow up their boards and put on Clipper.
Well, I mean, let's be fair.
Yet.
I would like to see it, but don't do it yet. But on that vein, too, if you guys are running into issues, we use info@3dmakeit.ca for like kind of our help channel, and also the Discord server in our Patreon. So we do have a Patreon. We have wonderful Patreons, and the chat is going, and it's always active in the Patreon. We're active in the Patreon. So again, if you need to get a hold of us, probably the Discord side of Patreon is probably the fastest maybe response. I don't know if it's fastest. Emails are emails, but info@3dmakeit gets us if you do run into issues. What about RevFront? Could it be run on a laptop? No.
It is RepRap and Marlin are your firmware. So they run on the board level, and they define the pins that are broken out by the processor, whether it's 8-bit, 32-bit, whatever. So that's why that's why you can't run it on a laptop.
Yeah, it has to be that ARM or LPC. It has to be a microcomputer processor. And will we be testing Clipper with Octoprint? Heck yeah! Our
Oh
goal
yeah.
is we're going to try to get Octoprint, and like I said, Fluid. And thank you, Dave, for reminding me for the main sale. So we're going to try them on all the control interfaces is our goal, and have like a whole series out like we do with Marlin, right? When new Marlin comes out, we kind of show the ins and outs and how to do it. There is absolutely nothing again wrong with Marlin.
No,
On
and I all my printers currently, except my replicator over there, run Marlin. The
Yep.
replicator, I think, is a proprietary Sailfish pre-Marlin thing. Proprietary though.
Proprietary. And I'm the same way, except the Anycubic Predator runs Chitu box. What the heck? Runs Chitu box. That's weird.
And again, that's a lot of the SLA. It's SLA, right? Printers run G2
Yeah.
box, right? That's very common.
So the next series too with the with Clipper specifically is we're gonna try to gear it as a work along series with us too. So like Stig, if you do want to play and kind of keep up with what we're going on the development path to, it will be fun. Just be prepared to have a printer down for a bit if something goes backwards. That's all.
So if you have a project printer that's designated to not be running 24/7 and you want to play and whatnot, that is the printer to target for this.
Definitely.
Don't take down your main printer.
It's probably a bad idea to take your main printer down. Pick the one that pick the problem. Like the other day, the Legend threw the build plate off of it that I had, so I put it in the corner. It's being punished right now. Thinking about what it's done. Bad Legend.
Well, speaking about the Legend, shall we talk a little bit about the IDEX project and kind of the early stages of planning?
Yeah, let's switch to the last two. Yeah.
All right. So David and I, as some of you know from our streams, have been chatting and talking about. We're both IDEX curious, so we want to definitely explore IDEX because we think it's a cool thing and a good way to be able to do multi-material with less waste. And so we've looked at other ways to do it through palette and whatnot. And so this is our next foray, shall we speak. So I'm going to be converting my Legend. And David, now did you confirm, is that what you're going to do as well?
Yep, I am going to be doing my Legend as well. So if you guys don't know, the Legend is pretty well in Ender 3. There's a few minor differences. So what we're hoping in this whole thing is that when we do this project, there will be an open source files at the end so that you can make the independent dual extruder for yourself. Now, if you guys don't know, IDEX stands for independent dual extrusion.
Yes.
It's far superior to far superior. It is superior though to things such as the MMU or the
or the multiple head. So like you have a single a dual nozzle head and then have to calibrate the nozzles because if your gantry is just slightly off, it's never going to print right. So there's a lot of little finicky stuff. So we've already bought, we went up and our friend Ray met us and I've purchased from him a lovely piece of 2020 B slot that David and I are going to figure out the length we need. We'll slice it up and we'll adapt it to our printer. And then we're both going to go into Fusion and attempt to design, not from scratch, because there's lots of people who've kind of got ideas out there, but an IDEX system that could be mounted to the Legend. And then I'm sure after that, it could be adapted fairly easily to an Ender or other printers. And I think the idea, David, we're going to open source this, right?
Yeah, I already mentioned that. Yeah, it's definitely going to be open source. And just so you guys know, like the hardest piece of material to find for this whole project is literally that piece of extrusion. Like that's pretty well the only piece, and then we need like 3 more V wheels, and then we can figure it out from there. But yeah, it's going to be a fun project. It's going to be something that will be useful. So if you just going back to the other vein too, IDEX is capable of printing different materials completely. So when you're talking about the MMU, which is a color switching printer, like it puts the filament in line and then pulls out and then adds another one into the same hot end. So that's color mixing or filament mixing, or the palette that fuses other filaments in line. Both of them are very similar in the fact that really they're not designed to print multiple materials. They should call it multiple color, right? Like multiple color would describe those print systems. It all has to
same material, multiple spools.
Yeah, and I do know that the palette, for example, and the MMU, if you wanted to use PVA or the dissolvable supports, you can do that. It does fuse to PLA okay, and it does work out most of the time. But with the dual IDEX, the independent extrusion, ne'er does the other material actually touch the other hot end. So if you guys have ever played with it, PETG is an amazing material for using as support structure when you're mixing it with a main model of PLA. It breaks right off of a PLA model, no problem, without using the dissolvable supports. That makes it pretty easy. The other thing you can do with the multiple material is just before your support column is at the top, you could switch to dissolvable. So you could print like cheap PLA all the way up and then switch that out for PVA so that just the very top millimeter dissolves away, and it will it'll work. And doing that with an IDEX printer is totally possible. Doing that kind of thing with a palette is terribly wasteful and does not work, right? So
I've seen some really nice prints. Like I know a few people in Discord were talking about RC cars and whatnot. Well, I've seen some really nice prints where they print PTG for the hub, but at the same time, because they're using IDEX, they print TPU, and so you've got a fully integrated hub and wheel, and the wheel squishes, but the hub's solid. So you can do that kind of thing with either a tool changer, right, or an IDEX, because an IDEX is like a mini tool changer, but you're not changing anything.
It's like the poor man's version of buying the $3,000 tool changer.
Right. Exactly.
So that's the plan. I mean, obviously, like Greg mentioned, it's going to take a new controller. It's going to take another hot end. So there are some costs involved. My guess, though, to actually get the project up and running, the whole cost of it would probably be under $100.
Well, we'll do. That's one of the things we'll make sure we do is we'll do a cost breakdown, and we haven't discussed whether are we going to make a 3D Make It Git?
Yeah, that's a good idea, and it has been decided. We are going to make, along with our podcast today, a 3D Make It Git where this can go on, and other projects, obviously, but I think it's a good use of Git for sure.
Yeah,
because we're going to have, if you guys don't know, that we're firmware nerds, and we will make firmware for our IDEX.
And put it up there, and then that way anyone who wants to contribute to it, because it's obviously we want to do open source, we'll be able to work with other people on the development. So, yeah,
Um, and
should be
I
fun.
see a comment from Dominic um, in chat there too. He says my printer has 80 to 100 millimeters available for both hot end assemblies. So I think I'm out of luck. No, maybe, but remember, since printers are always reconfigurable in general, unless you have like a rigid enclosure at the end, you can always make other stuff bigger, squish it in. Maybe that would be interesting. What kind of printer is it, Dominic? I've been using IDEX. So Raymond says I've been using IDEX for some time now. They're fun. I like the fact that you can print two of the same. Yeah, the mirrored printing is sweet. Are you
Yeah,
using the FlashForge IDEX, Raymond, by chance?
yeah. I didn't realize you were using IDEX, so that's cool.
I'm curious because I want to say I remember you saying that you were using the FlashForge. So if you guys don't know, there's kits or printers that already do it. Right, CraftBot does it. FlashForge has a printer that does it. The oh man, what is it? The T-Rex, the Formbot one.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's the T-Rex does it. And there's other kits to make Core XYs do it, right? So there are lots of options.
Yeah, Voron. They had a good discussion actually about the Voron kit and whatnot, and how it's not really designed. And Core XY, honestly, isn't designed for IDEX that well, because you're limited on your horizontal distances because of your cross beams at the top. So ideally, a bed flinger type is probably better for IDEX because you've got no restrictions on your travel to the left and right of your on your X gantry. So if you need to extend it, that's ideal. But when you're constraining yourself with an enclosure, so you are limited. So unless you're deliberately trying to design it ahead of time, converting a Core XY it wouldn't work very well, or that style. So I would say your CR10s of the world, your Enders of the world, your Legends that I have over here, or even if you want to do a huge one, my Bumblebee, which is at my Anycubic, would be a good. So as long as you have the two uprights and your X gantry, you can extend your X gantry so that, and the main reason you want to do that is so that you can park your head off the build plate and you don't lose your regular print volume, because the last thing you want to do is try to convert something, because even if you could convert a Voron style, because you're limited in there, you're going to lose some of your build plate, because the second build head is not going to be able to reach all corners of your build plate. Whereas if you have a bed flinger, you can still park the one head off to the side and you're going to still be able to reach probably 90% of your build plate. So that's something to keep in mind. So yeah.
Well, totally. And Core XY would be super hard to actually because you'd have to have a floating one beside it. My head hurts.
Yeah, it's so basically a bed flinger Ender style or CR10 style is your best choice for IDEX. So,
and I don't know if you said anything, but Pierre said IDEX would be great on the Ender 5 Plus. You are correct. That is also similar to a.
Yeah, I think it has a wider, like the build plate's smaller than the enclosure, right? Quite a bit. So that one would work. So you'd have to have, as long as you have a small build plate and a large enclosure, then yes, you could do it.
Yeah.
So not all printers can be converted. Purpose built IDEX might be the better way to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
but we're going to experiment. gonna experiment.
We don't
We'll
we don't like
we'll
the way
make the
things go.
mistakes. We'll make the mistakes and figure it out.
If you either see Greg or David pass out, run out of the mine. There's gas for days. Get out of there.
No, we'll be your canaries.
We'll be your canary down the mine. So that's the IDEX. There's going to be a lot more, obviously, coming, but that's kind of where we're at now with it. We're just waiting for stuff to kind of show up now.
Yeah, and shipments are finally going because none of the stuff that we've ordered comes through the Suez Canal. So
yes, we're not blocked by the boat, thankfully.
So all our friends in Europe that have all their orders delayed because they've been waiting, we're sorry.
Yeah, we apologize. I wish we could help you. We'll keep you guys posted. I mean, obviously, we love to talk about what we're doing on the live stream, and we'll keep you mostly posted. The other place, again, that we actually post more of this information to, and there will actually be behind the scenes on the building of the IDEX and a little more extra footage, again, is our Patreon. So we do have Patreon. If you want to join, there's absolutely no pressure to join. You can hit like and subscribe, and that is plenty for us. But the Patreon is there, just so you know that we're going to have kind of more behind the scenes of the IDEX builds on the Patreon, just because, that's the way it works. But you will see the overall progress on the YouTube channel. So you're still going to get all the content. It's just you won't see all of the behind the scenes stuff either. So now, Greg, we have a whole whack load of things coming. A whole whack load. And like we have even more coming than we had from yesterday. So if you guys don't know what we're talking about, we're going to have a direct drive extruder showdown.
Yes, it should be fun.
Like the Wild West. I got we have, so Greg, can you show that plate off again, Greg?
Yep.
So Greg has this plate, and where's it from, Greg?
This is Printer Mods. So it's Printer Mods MDD 1.3. It's going to be on, I haven't decided which printer, but it's either going to be, I think it's going to go on my kit, my Ender 3. So and it'll I'm waiting for the extruder to go with it because I don't want to take the stock extruder because we've got a patron sponsored build, and so it will have the orbiter installed on it is the plan.
Yeah, and that's going to be a cool one. So the orbiter, that's number 2, the orbiter. So we have a Mod V plate, we have the orbiter. If you guys aren't familiar, we have so there is a kit Creality sells for direct drive. It slides on just as a unit. I have the same thing, but I had the plate that I bought, so we can count that as the Creality direct drive unit. Then well, we also have coming an H2 from
Big Tree Tech.
Yes. And then Greg has the Chimera fitted, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's on Bumblebee, and it's so far working well. It's a version 1, so I'm going to have to do an inspection on it because they are doing warranty repair if the bearings come loose, and so far it's printed fine. But I don't have as many hours as some people on their printers, so I'll have to check that. But yes, we have that one, and so we'll have hopefully, and then there we noticed that that Raymond has something special in his where he works right now, and we're thinking that we might want to order one of those. And what is that, David?
If you don't know, Bondtech came out with a brand new extruder. They get paired with an LDO stepper driver. and they're the LG. I think it's LGX, if I'm not mistaken, the series. But it's a small unit. It's actually smaller than the Hemera and H2, so it's more compact, and it's again similar to all the other ones, except they made the gear is dual gear Bondtech extrusion. So we are going to get one of those in as well. Now, the price range,
maybe two.
maybe two, because Greg might need one too. But the price range, and this is the cool part. So the price range for this whole process is as low as $15
Yeah.
to as high as the Chimera was. So about 160 Canadian, or was it a
Yeah.
little more?
Yeah.
Roughly.
Something like that.
So just so you know, that's our price range, and that's so the $15 was the Ender direct drive plate, and
Yeah.
then the 160 is a Chimera.
And so we'll probably put a some sort of spreadsheet together to show it all off, and then we'll kind of um, you know, do a bit of a showdown. We'll maybe we'll do a throw a some sort of voting up and choose what model we're gonna go head to head with.
Yep.
We'll put our favorites in there, and then have all of you choose a model to go head to head with. And I don't know that it'll be a Banshee in the list, because I think there's a couple models that we both like that'll be in the list, and so we're going to limit it to maybe we'll include Banshee. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe we might throw them in there. Raymond brings up a point about you missed one. What about the Micro Swiss? Yeah, the
That's true.
Micro Swiss. Yeah, I have reservations about the direct drive that they provide. But that being said, like I have all their hot ends already, so it'd be cheap enough to throw it into the mix. So we might just do it anyway. So that would be like 7. Whoa, 7.
Tell Derek he needs to sponsor us on a Micro Swiss, Raymond.
Yeah, right. So I want to talk a little bit about what's coming for us in the next 2 weeks. Now we have been talking about a temperature video for a while, and I'm kind of grouping them all together. So we're going to be doing a couple. We're going to be doing board temperature relative to the enclosure box. I'm making a special box that kind of slides in and out, and you can just torture. So that is still coming, and that's probably 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. But the other one that we're going to be doing and talking about sooner than that, and this might be a collab video. We're working on the idea. Is
We're still
filament
working out
temperature,
the
right?
details. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the reason we're doing, and I said it, I think last weekend, that I had never printed a temperature tower, and that wasn't a lot.
I've done a temperature tower in Kira before, but
Right.
that was a while ago.
And so I programmed a temperature tower using just basic scripting in Prusa Slicer. So I think the idea is going to be one of us will show Prusa Slicer, one of us will show Kira, maybe, or both. It might turn out one of us does all too. It just depends on time. But
We'll figure that one out. And then Raymond has donated us his own personal Creality box to try out and see what our thoughts are on it. And so I believe David does not want to do that one. So I think I will be doing that one. So thank you, Ray, for and then we'll probably get all the parts back to you once the videos are done. Our next trip up to Calgary.
Yeah, and hopefully that's not as long as it was between the last time. I'm just gonna throw it out there. If you guys don't know what we're talking with the Creality box, Creality came out with basically a printer controller and a you can hook a camera to it. So it's basically a very cheap version, like $25 cheap Canadian, of a print monitor. So it's an alternative to Octoprint or Astroprint or the other one, Greg. Repeat here.
Yeah.
So, do I love it? I don't know. I haven't used it, but I've seen it around, and I don't think it will actually work on any of our controllers.
Well, we'll
Find
find
out.
out.
We'll find out. I know there was um, other videos about the Creality monitoring box that unless you had like Creality product, it almost didn't work on anything. I'm just gonna see if I can't find the.
Here it is.
You got it?
So
Okay,
yeah, so this is the Creality box. It's fairly small. It's basically the box version of their little camera that they discontinued fairly quickly. So we'll see if it does what it says and if it still works, because it's been out for a while now and they discontinued the camera one fairly quickly.
Oh
So
yeah, and you can't even
anyway,
use it as a camera, right? Like you needed the app,
right.
and it's useless
Yeah.
unless you like unsolder everything and
So
make it.
so I have no preconceptions on this one, whether it's going to be good or bad. So and I will definitely try it with all my printers, and we'll see if it actually works with a Big
Yeah,
Tree Tech board and whatnot. And so
yeah, it'll be interesting. The video I'm referring to that I did see was like what's his name? Teaching tech.
yeah,
Um,
we don't know if it's a flop box, but we will find out.
Could be. If anything, you could throw it at people if they break into your house. Price compared to a Raspberry Pi. Well, a Raspberry Pi will run you anywhere from $60 to $120, depending on which version of the Raspberry Pi you choose to get.
Actually, well, you can get you can get pies for less than that too. Like you can
Mhm.
get $30 pies. So but it really depends on where you live
How much
and
is that box on
availability.
the website there, Greg?
That's a great
Okay.
question.
Greg will
Uh,
find the price out for that box. It's not much.
I,
Like when it first launched, they were
it
giving it away.
actually they they don't have a price. So the question is, do they even still make it? Is it relevant?
Yeah. And like, so if you guys
I know
don't
you.
know,
I know you can still buy them.
it's driven off the like the Creality. The idea of it is kind of an Astro Printy nebulous printer OS control in the cloud thing. And you have to sign up for a Creality account, and then all of your print jobs get managed, on this cloud, where they do have a few models available, but like we will, I guess it's one of those things where we'll see. Creality. I'm just looking to see if I can.
We'll give it a shot. And so
Oh, so the
and
price
I
$20
will
Canadian.
do a breakdown of price comparison features, and everything. So
Yep,
we'll go
it'll
from
be a
there.
whole thing. So it's like $15 American, just so you know. We'll just throw that out there. And I know that some local retailers still have it. So,
Yeah.
and Raymond posted a link to a Canadian retailer that still has it. So, it is out there. It is out there now.
Now, and we're not recommending it, but Ray was generous enough to lend us it to give a look and see whether it's something we want to consider. So
And one more thing. I know we're getting close to the top of the hours, but I just got one more topic du jour anyway here. If and when, or if, I guess, if not and when, just if you guys choose to send hardware our way, whether that's down from Calgary and back, Ray, or whether it's, we have one of our friends that follows the channel, Stig, has sent us a few. They're still in shipping, but a few components. When those videos get made, it will say sponsored by whoever gave us the product.
yeah,
If you
because
are sending product and you don't want to be on, or you don't want your name attached to a video, just make sure you send that information along.
Yeah, and we'll, before we publish the video or do it, and we're about to, we'll confirm with you whether that's, you want your association with that product or not.
Yeah. Do you want your name? Raymond says no name. Okay, we'll use anonymous Ray. We'll say Harpo. I don't know. Delta Mart.
We'll just say sponsored by
Sponsored by
someone.
somebody. So, again, if you guys need us or help or have questions for us through the week, you can hit us at info@3dmakeit.ca. We're always watching it, and our response time might be about a day on email. So please feel free to use info@3dmakeit.ca to get us. That gets Greg and I, just so you know.
Yeah, we
We
both
are
monitor that.
Yeah. We are turning today into a podcast. So next week, when you see the little podcast coming, it won't say podcast coming. It will say podcast here and give you a link.
Yeah.
So I want to, just wrap up this whole process by, wrap up 3D Day. It's Sunday, right? It's the live stream.
Yep.
We're just going to ask if there's any other questions, and we'll wait a second. But Raymond says, I do it for the love of 3D printing, not the fame. Okay, Raymond, we won't broadcast it at all. Don't worry.
Even though we just did on this channel.
Just kidding. Hey, comments are fair game, right? Again, I want to say thank you, and I don't have the graphic up, but guys, if you have joined our Patreon and you are members of Patreon, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We appreciate you. If you wanted to check out our Patreon, it's patreon.com/3dmakeit. We'll get you there. There are some public posts, right? You can join the Patreon page without actually like subscribing per se. So there are some public posts out there. And there is no pressure. But remember to like, share, subscribe. It helps the channel, especially the like button and comments. So if you guys comment in the video, YouTube is more likely to find the likes and the comments. So if you guys can do that, that'd be great.
Yeah, and thanks for everyone for joining us today. Like we always appreciate all your conversation and comments and everything. It's always great to have this interaction with you guys. So if you do listen to the podcast and you do watch us on YouTube, feel free to join us live on Sundays at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and you can join in, and we've got a great group of people all participating in chat. So feel free to join us.
Yeah. So until next time, guys, ladies, boys, girls, whoever's watching, we'll see you next week, same bad time.